Hello and welcome everyone to this afternoon's webinar. The topic that we're going to be looking at this afternoon is approaches to feedback in Moodle. My name is Chris Rowell. I'm an academic developer here at South Bank Uni, working in CRIT, Centre for Research Informed Teaching. Just before I get actually into the content of what I'm going to talk about. Hi Joe, just see that you've come into the meeting there. Okay. I'm just going to go through some instructions. So I've actually muted all of your microphones. So if you want, as I go through the talk, through the demonstration, if you want to ask me a question, you need to send me a message. To do so, can you send me a message on the discussion forum? So to do that, as you can see on the bottom left hand corner of the screen where the red arrow is pointing, you'll see an instant messaging icon. If you just click on there, then you can just type in a message and I'll come back and answer any questions at the end of my talk. In terms of what I'm aiming to do in this session, I'm going to show you how to set up a rubric in Moodle, how to give feedback using a rubric, and just briefly look at some tips for using rubrics with your students. What I'll do is talk for about 15-20 minutes, and if there are any questions at the end, I'll take those as questions, answer those questions. Okay. First of all, what exactly is a rubric? Well, on the screen in front of you, I've given you an example of a rubric. It's actually a rubric that's used in a theatre studies course, and the rubric is actually designed to assess the student's ability to laugh when they're acting. So you can see on the left-hand side, well, you can see the performance criteria for what the student is being judged on. So in terms of their ability to laugh on stage, so the volume, the duration of the laugh, or the body involvement. So those are the criteria, the performance criteria. And then we've got performance levels going along the next axis. So these are descriptions of levels of performance for these criteria. So we've got a beginning level 4 going up to level 1. So what these performance levels are trying to do is actually not just say what the student should be aiming for, but they are actually descriptions of their performance. So for example, when it comes to the performance criteria of the volume, level 1 is a chuckle. Laughter is audible to those standing nearby. Okay, so it's actually describing what the student's performance is. Okay, so all rubrics are going to have those two features: a set of criteria and descriptions of levels of performance. Obviously, the reasons why they are used is numerous. The first one is transparency. It makes it easier for and clarifies to the students what exactly they're being assessed on and what levels of performance they have to achieve to get a certain grade. A second reason is that it increases reliability of the marking of the particular assignment. This is especially true on large courses where there may be several lecturers marking the same piece of work. So for example, when I used to teach economics, there would be maybe 200 students in a particular module, and there would be maybe 8 or 9 lecturers all marking the same piece of work. If they're all working and marking from the same rubric, then it increases the reliability and performance of that marking and makes it fairer to the students. Thirdly, it should provide a richer feedback for the students because they're getting more detailed, not just on aspects of where they're doing well, but actually aspects of where they're doing not so well. And if they get that type of feedback, that will encourage the students to take responsibility for their own learning and helps target what they need to improve on, i.e. their next steps. In terms of setting up a rubric in Moodle, what I'm going to do now is give you a live demonstration in Moodle of how to do this. So if you just bear with me for a couple of seconds, what I'm going to do now is switch the screen from my slides, and you'll now see in a couple of seconds in front of you, you'll see a space in Moodle, and this is just an empty space. This is an empty module. This is my test course. So I'm just going to set up in here an assignment that has a rubric attached to it. So first of all, decide where you want to put your assignment. So I'm going to a section called Assessment and Feedback. First thing to do is turn your editing on. So I'm going to turn editing on, top right of the screen. And then I'm going to add an activity or resource. So this is just in the same way as you would normally add an assignment. So click on assignment, click the add button, and then give the assignment a name. I'm going to call this assignment 6, and in the description I'm going to add with rubric. And obviously you can put a lot more detail than I have just put there. If you want the description to show on the screen, you must tick the box below it. You can add an assignment brief to it as there as well. I won't go through the normal setting up details of the assignment, but make sure that the due date is correct. And then if you want to enable Turnitin, you can do so. Okay, I won't go through all these options. I'm just going to hit the button at the bottom of the page that says Save and Return to Course. So if I scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can see the assignment that I've just created called Assignment 6 with rubric. Okay, so I've set the assignment up. Stage 2 then is to add to the actual assignment, to add the actual rubric to the assignment. So first of all, I need to click on the actual assignment to open the assignment. So this is assignment 6 with rubric. And then I need to go to the administration block, which is on the bottom left side of the screen. So this will be under the sections, bottom left hand side of the screen, and then you need to click on advanced grading. So you can see the link. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th link up from the bottom in light blue. And then you get the heading Advanced Grading Assignment 6 Submissions. So that's what I call my assignment, Assignment 6. At the moment it's set to Simple Direct Grading, but if I click on the drop down box I get 2 other options. So I'm going to select Rubric. And then once I've selected rubric, it's given me 2 new options. First of all, define new grading form from scratch, or design new grading form from a template. So in other words, you can actually build a rubric from scratch, or you can use an existing one. So I'm going to click on the latter, create a new grading form from a template. And then what we've got here in front of you is now some examples of rubrics that have been used. So the one you've got in front of here is construction practice, report structuring, shared template. Next one is another construction template, construction platform communication, and so on. So there's quite a few different templates that you can select from. I'm going to select this one here called Level 6 Viva Shared Template. So I scroll down to the bottom and you can see this quite detailed one, and where it says use this template, click on the link. So click here. and then it asks you to confirm that's exactly what you want to do, which you do. So I'm going to click on continue, and then it gives you the option to delete or actually edit the template that you have just copied. So if I click on the edit button, I can now change anything on this one that I've copied over. So I'm going to call this my Viva okay, and again you can see here now you've got the two features that I talked about before. So you've got the criteria going down on the left hand side column, and then across the other columns you've got the performance levels. So the first criteria is coherence, organisation and clarity and purpose in the Viva. So it goes from a high score, and then the scoring goes less and less as I move to the right. So, and again, you've got all of this has been written out for you already. So if you're happy with it, you would just scroll down to the bottom of the page and click save. But you can actually edit it as well. So if, for example, you wanted to change any of these descriptors, you just click on the box and then change anything. So if I just wanted to remove a section that grammar and spelling are accurate, I could delete that and move on. Likewise, I could change the percentage points for each particular performance level as well. So all of that is editable. Okay, so once we're happy and we've made the changes that we want, we have two options. We can save it as a draft. So this will not make the rubric actually available, so you might want to come back at a later date and edit it further. So that's one option. However, if you're actually happy with the way the rubric's set out, you can just click on the save button on the bottom left hand side of the screen, which I'm going to do here, save. So now what I've done, I've actually saved that rubric and I've attached it to the assignment. Okay, so that was relatively easy to do. What I want to do now is actually show you what it looks like from the student's perspective. So I'm going to log out of Moodle as myself, as the lecturer. So I'm going to the top right. I'm going to log out. Okay, what I'm going to do now is log back in as a student. Go back to where the assignment is. So it's under assessment and feedback. I'm going to click on assignment 6, and straight away you can see what the rubric looks like. So students have it even before they submit their piece of work, so they can see all the criteria that they are going to be marked on, they can see all the performance levels, what it's like to produce an exceptional piece of work or something that's just going to get them a pass. So I can scroll across and see all the performance levels. This is really useful from the student's perspective, so they can see exactly what they need to do to get a good mark on this particular piece of work. When the students are happy, they want to submit their work, they just add submission, which is the button at the bottom of the page. They select their assignment and they click on the upload this file and save changes, and when they're happy they can hand in the submission. So tick the box here and click continue. So now you can see there's a green bar at the top of the page, and it's telling them that the student's piece of work has been submitted for grading. So what I'm going to do now is come out of that student, come out as from being a student, and I'm going to log back in as the lecturer. So I'm going to log out and now log back in as myself. Go back to where the module is and go back to where the assignment is. So now I can see that I've got 4 students in this particular module, and one of them has submitted their work and needs marking. So I'm going to view all submissions, and I can see that particular student has submitted their work, so I'm going to grade it. So I click on the grade button, and again straight in front of me I've got the rubric, and you can see now the advantages of using a rubric. So once I've read the student's assessment, the assignment, which is accessed via the link at the top of the page, I can now very easily click on the performance levels to mark the student's piece of work. So I'm just going to randomly choose some levels so you get an idea of how it will be the case. I think that's everything. You'll see on the last column as well, you can give individual feedback from any performance criteria. So if they've done really well on analysis or knowledge, you can put a comment in there. Or if they need improvement, you know, if they've done particularly, so where the student has only scored 20%, between 10 and 19%, you can give the student some specific feedback where how to give more emphasis. So again, straight away, one of the advantages of using a rubric is that you can give very specific feedback to the performance levels. And then overall, if I scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can give overall assignments feedback as well. So overall assignments. Obviously, and you can put a lot more detail than I've just done there. And then at the end of it, you can save draft and save the changes. So I'll just click the blue button at the bottom of the page. One other advantage as well is that once it's added up all those performance levels, it will give a student a percentage grade out of 100 as well. And then hit the Save Changes button. Okay, so I've just shown you there from a student's perspective what it looks like to actually upload an assignment. I've also shown you from the lecturer's perspective how easy it is to mark the student's piece of work. And then obviously the final thing, once you've marked our whole class's submissions, you can release the grades back to the students. That's probably the most easiest way to do that is to select the assignments, select Submit Marking Workflow State, and then select Released and Save Changes, and then the grades will go back to the students, and there's confirmation that the grade has been released and the percentage grade is 60% or 60 out of 100. Alright, that's it in terms of the whole process, the whole cycle of setting up an assignment, adding a rubric, students submitting the work, and then the lecturers marking the piece of work using the rubric. I just want to go back to my slides now, so I'll just head back Just want to highlight a couple of tips for using rubrics, and more can be said about this, but I'm limited by the amount of time I've got. My first piece of advice would be make sure that the rubrics are available to students before they begin work on the actual tasks. So make sure the students actually see a copy of the rubric when you actually go through the assignment brief or when you set up the assignment in Moodle. Obviously the grading, the performance levels are linked clearly to the assignment and the assignment brief. Secondly, make sure not just that you don't just discuss the rubric at the start when you give out the assignments, or even at the end when you're marking the assignments, but constantly refer back to the rubric when you're working with the students in the class time. So, for example, talk about how you'll be marking them on their level of knowledge and what type of knowledge they need to include, and constantly refer back to the rubric in the class time. And then finally, make sure you frame the assessment feedback in terms laid out in the rubric. So actually, when you're actually giving the feedback, make sure you refer back to the rubric and the terms that you use there. Okay, that's it for this afternoon. Just want to point out that we have some other webinars organised in the future, so keep an eye out for Yammer, where these will be advertised. Also, all of them are actually advertised on the staff intranet under the Digital Enhanced Learning section. We've got further webinars on anonymous marking in Moodle, a Moodle site health check, getting Moodle ready for next semester. That's obviously towards the end of this semester, and then we've got a few lined up on what's new in Moodle, some of the new features. Okay, that's it for this afternoon. I'll just leave my contact details up there. So there's my email if you need to contact me. I don't actually have any questions to answer, but thank you for attending, and I'll leave the webinar open for a few minutes if you think you will want to ask any further questions. Thank you very much, and good afternoon.